Why are we told so many lies, so many half-truths about immigration? Now, I should declare, I am the son of immigrants and have assimilated, so I know that's possible. But I also know that when you import a people, you do also import their culture, for good, for bad. In my own case, Dutch culture, what can I say? I still wear my clogs in the garden, like wearing my little orange tie, and I also share some fairly stereotypical Dutch values: respect for hard work, a liking for straight talk, like you're about to get right now. And like many Australians, the Dutch tend to hate people who carry on like a pork chop. In Dutch we say, doe maar normaal, dan doe je al gek genoeg. Act normal and you'll already be mad enough. That's why I never could stand Clive Palmer. So that's the kind of things going through my mind when I say that nothing, almost nothing, is more important to the health of this country than getting immigration right. Put simply, if we, for instance, bring in too many people too fast, our streets get clogged, our lives get too hassled, our trains get too packed, it's just a nightmare. And we can also get ethnic colonies if we bring in masses of people reluctant or hard to assimilate. We also risk importing ethnic and religious strife, even terrorism. In fact, 5 Muslim refugees that we've brought in have already committed terrorist acts here, one in Melbourne just 11 days ago. Yet again and again, we get politicians from the main 2 parties pretending that mass immigration is still great. They say, it makes us rich, which is no longer true, not per person. They say, it makes us wonderfully diverse, when in fact it now is dividing us into tribes, warring tribes, it seems at times. Well, last night, the Prime Minister finally changed his tune on immigration, kind of. Back in February, when Tony Abbott said that we should slash our intake of permanent immigrants, Scott Morrison made out that this was the most idiotic thing he'd heard.
Skilled migrants, they come, they start businesses, they get jobs, they pay taxes, they invest in their communities, they run sports clubs, they make things happen.
But with polls now showing more and more Australians demanding a cut in immigration, Morrison last night was now for that after all. Well, sort of. Have a listen.
Our permanent migration intake is currently running about 30,000 below what the existing cap is. Now, I believe that this is likely to end up in revising down the permanent migration cap in Australia. That would be my expectation.
So Scott Morrison is not exactly promising to cut immigration, it's just expecting it to happen. Which sounds a bit weak, but it is still a lot better than anything that Labor's saying at the moment. But I said that our politicians speak only half-truths about immigration, and Scott Morrison did it again last night when saying why Australians want immigration cut.
But on issue of population, I wanted to make a few comments tonight. It's played a key role in our success as a country economically. There can be no denying that. But I also know Australians in our biggest cities, particularly here in Sydney, but also in Melbourne and southeast Queensland, are very concerned about the rate of population growth. The roads are clogged, the buses and the trains are full, the schools are taking no more enrolments. This is what is being reflected back to us, and we can hear that.
Now, those reasons are true as far as they go. Melbourne and Sydney especially are drowning in extra people. It's a nightmare for me trying to drive out of my own street now with all this traffic. But that is still very far from the whole story, isn't it? In fact, a survey just this week showed that most people were worried about integration, the cultural stresses. And the homepage today of Melbourne's Herald Sun newspaper shows exactly why so many Australians are now freaking about what mass immigration is doing to their city, to their country. Check out 3 of the big stories from the top. 3 more Muslim men arrested in Melbourne for an alleged terrorism plot, all born in Turkey. Next, riot police battle a street gang in St Kilda, most of them born in Africa or to African parents. And the last one, the funeral today of the Melbourne restaurateur murdered by a Muslim terrorist, a man born in Somalia. And again, you have to ask, who let them all in and why? And that's not even all of it. A few days ago, also in Melbourne, we learned 3 more Muslim men were convicted over yet another terrorism plot. This is insane. Does this not explain why so many Australians have lost faith in mass immigration, in multiculturalism, that whole schmozzle? How did we come to import all this tension? Import enough of a certain kind of people to force us to put up bollards in our streets, right out the side, this building included, to stop them from running us down. Today, if you go down to Melbourne St Kilda, to the fine restaurants there, you could find the chef was bashed a couple of weeks ago by 15 Africans. Well, you'll discover that police last night had to battle even more Africans in the street outside. Here's a shocked witness to that. A lawyer on 3AW this morning describing something that rings culturally very different to the Australia he knew.
And look, what really shocked me is how defiant these young people were. There were police there, and it seemed like they didn't really care at all.
What do you mean?
Well, they continued fighting. They were pushing the police around.
Were they all you saw of African appearance?
Yes, they were.
Now, I know that many people taken in from Africa, from the Middle East, fit in very well. They make great citizens. I know some of them personally. I also know, and I regret, that saying what I'm saying here risks hurting them, making them targets for other people's suspicions. I know that. But by not talking about what immigration is now doing, by not identifying a real problem and fixing it, that's even surer to have us at each other's throats. You see, what really spreads fear is the terrorist act or the home invasion and not the reporting of it. Think, another terrorist attack, this time with lots of victims? What do you think that's going to do to the way we all get on in this country? Hardly bears thinking about. So, let's slash immigration. Let's be much, much more careful to let in only people who are likely to fit in culturally. And let us think up some ways, urgently, to create a people out of what suddenly looks like a nation of tribes.